rock mining gave birth to this little Rocky Mountain town of Irwin. The year was 1880. Huge deposits of gold and silver lay hidden in the mountains, and the miners came from all over to find it. Later, coal mining became the town's sole source of income.
Used to get up at 5 in the morning, and we'd go upside a hill about 6 and get changed and go over and get a mule and start in the mine at 7 o'clock, and you was in there till 3 o'clock. Then you come out. That was a day's work.
The coal company owned everything, from the mines to the houses, to the grocery, to the bank, to the bars. It was a company town. The people were strong and tough, hard drinking and hard working. Getting ready for winter took all summer.
Get the coal and the wood in, and that was all you had to worry about. The rest of the stuff, groceries, you could buy all winter. Of course, we'd go hunting, too. We'd get a deer, an elk. That count, too, don't it? That come in October, though, to be legal.
By 1960, the mines had all closed. Many families moved out, but a few hung on through the bad times. And those who did, well, they developed a way of life together that you don't find these days.
Those days were different. They lived different. Like if your wife was having a child, why, you come home from work and everything was taken care of. The baby was taken care of, the wife was taken care of, your meals were taken care of, your laundry was taken care of. Somebody was always doing something. Now, if you get to know your neighbor, you're a pretty good guy, I'm telling you.
In 1962, a ski area was opened. It didn't do too well for a few years. Mostly some students from a nearby college town used the lifts. One of them was Steve Allen. He's lived here 8 years. For the past 4 ski seasons, he's worked on the professional ski patrol. In the time he's been here, it's gone from a quiet old mining town of 200 to a ski resort of over 1,000. He's lived with the effect of increased tourism and the inflated prices that go along with it.
Oh, it's changing. More money, more people, more big business. Used to know everybody in town. Now, I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. When I first came here, I was much more relaxed. It was, typical to go skiing and not see anybody on your run. Or, to stand at the top of a monument and look out and maybe see 2 people on the whole mountain, of everywhere you could look. That was neat. Now it's not like that. So you're changing from what was a non-profitable ski area into a ski area that's making profit.
Being a ski patrolman in the Rockies involves more than just first aid. The first job in the morning after a fresh snow is making the mountains safe for skiing. In other words, free from avalanche danger. There are a lot of ways to control them. One is by checking for fracture lines on foot. If the snow breaks away, that's one less slide to worry about. As an additional safety precaution, dynamite charges are set off to stabilize the tensions caused by the huge amounts of snow that fall here. Big guns can set off avalanches that can't be reached any other way. The whole idea is to make them slide before the area opens. On a yearly average, avalanches take the lives of 5 skiers. Countless more have close calls.
Yeah, they're really intriguing, even though, you respect them. It's usually just sort of a churning, sort of, with sort of rolls and waves like this with powder in front of it. When somebody else on some other, avalanche route gets a good one and you weren't there, you really feel left out.
Steve began skiing when he was 8 years old. Almost immediately, he began jumping. Naturally, jumping on skis led to jumping on other things.
When I was young, I bounced on the trampoline from about 3rd grade on through high school. High school, I competed on the trampoline. So it just gave me a balance in the air, and it's had carryover value in everything I've done. Jumping isn't skiing. It's just, it's a separate thing. It's being up in the air and having that balance. And, the skis are just sort of a part of it. When you land, you got to use them. For a while, when I first started going off big jumps, I'd just go bigger and bigger and faster and faster. But I figured out there's a limit. Like I used to do flips and stuff, and now it's not worth it, There's no real reason to do a flip and risk ruining your skiing for the rest of the season.
Jumping competitions, called Galendi contests, have become more popular as more and more prize money is offered. They're held at ski areas all across the country.
You go to a Galendi contest and there's 50 people there, and there's probably 15 of them that could win it. It's not like one guy's best, it's just who gets off the best jump that day. You come up to jump and all you can see is blue sky. And when you're going at it, you think, geez, I'm going awful fast.
Here we see Steve at his best, the 1972 Vail Galendi. In the past 5 years of competition, his record has been consistently good. He's put together 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and 1 third in major competition. This event drew the best jumpers in the nation. Qualifying jumps narrowed an entry field of 200 down to around 30 jumpers. Of these, 15 ended up with good jumps. Only 3 finished in the money. It's a dangerous sport. Jumpers reach speeds of 60 miles per hour on the in-run, go to heights of 30 feet, and cover distances of up to 170 feet or more. It's all done on conventional skis and boots. On this particular jump, Steve broke his own world's distance record, a leap of 184 feet. Unfortunately, some guys aren't ready for the big jumps, but they're drawn in by the smell of glory and the bucks.
Yeah, there's sort of 2 kinds of jumpers, one that just jumps and one that thinks. I used to just jump, but now I think about it, whereas some guys just hang on and hope they're going to make it. That's not good. Jumping seems really separate from skiing unless you can incorporate it in your skiing. I try to stay on the ground when I ski, unless, you purposely get in the air just for fun, but to be bouncing off moguls isn't good because there's no way to turn your skis when you're in the air. I try to ski not specifically any one way, I try to ski as plain as possible, so that when I ski down the hill, it's not a style that I hold my hands just so, or that my feet are always together, my feet are always apart. I just try to stand on top of my skis and make my skis turn.
Jack Barrows came from the Midwest. He grew up playing football in Michigan. He had 12 years of competitive football under his belt before he ever put on a pair of skis.
I started throwing a football when some of the Europeans started racing skiing. If I would have started skiing at the same age, I probably would have been a pretty good racer.
Jack's senior year at Central Michigan University, he coached the freshman team. The following year, he coached a junior high school team in the ghetto in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Many of Jack's attitudes about skiing relate back to his football experiences. The way he churns through fresh powder snow in the trees demonstrates this quite well.
Powder's a hard thing to define what it does to you. It just, it rushes me to the point where I want to yell. But I think powder really becomes great when you're in the trees, when you're going off of cliffs, when you're going off of varied terrain. I'd walk anywhere to ski the powder because that's what powder skiing's all about. It's skiing the stuff where everybody isn't. Steep trees, they slide more than big bowls. So if you're in a steep chute and all of a sudden you make a turn and it breaks with you, you got to ski the break down. You got to ski the slough or the slide. And that's exciting, you know, as long as it's not a major slide that wipe you out.
Hungry for powder snow, Jack took the plunge and moved to the mountains. The next question was, what to do for a living? Winters back in Michigan, Jack had instructed skiing, and he was anxious to do the same out here. Dissatisfied with traditional ski school politics, he became a freelance underground instructor. This posed certain problems. Don Lemos, a pioneering underground instructor from Aspen, Colorado, was denied lift privileges and arrested for teaching privately. He's suing the Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Forest Service, who leases the mountain to the ski area, demanding a court order for the issuance of a private instructor's permit. In Europe, private instructors or guides have thrived for decades. Lemos hopes to bring the same level of acceptance to this country. Many underground instructors are awaiting the outcome of this test case, which is now in federal district court. In the meantime, Jack's taking his chances.
I don't know the finances of ski schools, but I would say that they're ripping off the public very heavily. They've got too large of classes. They can't teach the people properly. There's no personal contact. So you don't get the coaching level, you get more of the classroom teaching level. I think the most important thing about teaching is getting individual contact with the person you're teaching. But because of the way ski schools have been set up in the majority of the areas I've been, they've made private lessons so expensive that the average person cannot afford them. I think that underground ski school can do only one thing, and that is improve the ski industry and put pressure on the ski schools at ski areas to improve instead of stagnate like they have. I think the only thing holding back, we'll say, underground teaching is the ski area themselves, because they want the money out of the tourist. So they're fighting it for that reason. And also their quality would have to go up, because then they'd have competition on the hill. I think a lot of people that are good skiers are not necessarily good teachers. The teaching thing is something that you've got to learn, and you've also got to be into. You've got to know people to be a good teacher. First thing is, well, how do I approach this personality? Am I aggressive? Am I very quiet? Do I have to do a lot of exercises with them? Do I just tell them to go? Do I yell at them from behind? Do I demonstrate in front?
Good. That's it. Okay, hold it.
Good. Now, you notice when you keep your chest forward in the crud, it doesn't shoot you backwards. When you keep your chest forward, when you hit it, and if you drive with your knees at the same time, you come through, you're in the same position you want to be in, and that's this position right here. Now, if you sit back a little bit, you're going to end up coming through with your skis through first, your chest second. And we want to come through with them both at the same time. Okay? Okay, let's go down here. I want you to follow me now, okay?
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, let's put on a pair of skis and follow Jack.
I don't get bored with challenging the same thing over and over again until I get it right. When I ski aggressively, I challenge my body. It's between me and the mountain, or me and the mogul, or the next thing in front of me. It's a challenge for me to make that next turn. Debbie Sporsich has skied 12 of her 20 years.
During the summer, to keep in shape, she bicycles in the mountains and runs through the quaking aspen trees, imaginary slalom poles. Debbie was a top slalom racer for the U.S. junior national team before poor coaching made her decide it wasn't worth it. Her style of free skiing relates directly to the competitive philosophy of all good racers.
I think from racing, you just pick up the aggressive attitude. Whereas if you don't race or do something where you have to make yourself really ski hard, you just piddle around.
The Sporsich family has lived here for 3 generations. Her father recalls when she began taking her skiing seriously.
Well, I remember one time I was working at the ski area in a rental shop, and she come in, she was a little bruised up. And at the time, I guess she was just getting interested in racing, and it made me a little mad. I don't know what I said to her, but I wasn't very happy about her getting into races because she was a little bruised up, had scratches all over her. But after that, I think I changed my mind. In fact, sometimes I even called her Tom, just kidding her, you know, because she is a tomboy.
The prettiest tomboy on the mountain, Debbie destroys the myth that men are better skiers than women, completely.
Most girls like to stand around too much, and I don't do that. I like to ski the slope, but most of the time they stop about 3 times. Like I even ski with my sisters, and they're the same way. But I just keep going, and if they want to ski with me, then they have to come along.
Debbie always liked skiing with guys. This guy, Phil Hedricks, was her first coach and one of her best ski buddies. Debbie attributes much of her skiing ability to her early work with Phil.
I've picked up mainly everything by watching other people. In fact, I think that's how I learned to ski. And I always used to ski with people like Phil, people that were a lot better than me. So I picked it up fast.
My head is where I just want to ski down the mountain. You ski from the top of the mountain to the bottom, and you don't stop halfway to see how you did, because the ultimate goal is the bottom. And once you start skiing that way, you forget what it looks like, or you don't care what it looks like to other people, and you just don't care.
When Phil was a teenager in Denver, he decided he wanted to be in the mountains. Determined, he set out for Aspen when he was just 16. Soon he was a ski instructor there. But the hassles of a big ski area got to be too much, so he moved deeper into the mountains. Phil's an all-around sportsman, and he loves every minute of his outdoor life.
Well, I've always been drawn to the mountains. Ever since I was a teenager, I always think, you know, well, I ought to move somewhere else and try something different, but as soon as I'm there for 3 or 4 weeks, I always just pack up and come back, because this is where I belong. This is where I feel like I'm in tune with nature. And I think a man's got to feel like he's part of his natural environment, or he's missing the whole point of living.
Last year, Phil went into partnership with a friend. They run a year-round sports shop. In the summer, they concentrate on fishing equipment and float trips on the many nearby rivers. In the winter, it's a ski shop where Phil sells and maintains the finest skis he can get his hands on. He takes pride in this work, even down to the finer points of waxing his customers' skis to perfection.
Wax is just a lubricant that you put between yourself and the snow. The idea of that is to break the suction. Like a skier creates suction as it goes over the snow, and any lubricant breaks suction. It's easier to turn a ski with a good wax. It's easier to ski on. A lot of people come into the shop and they say, my skis are too fast, and that's impossible. You can't have a ski that's too fast.
In Aspen, Phil and his friends developed a unique skiing style. It's skiing trimmed down to the basics. They call it Stone Monkey.
You sort of just stand on your skis like a gorilla would stand there, you know? And all you do is just plant your pole and turn your feet, and that's it. Stone Monkey actually came from a yoga instructor. It was my first yoga lesson, and the guy said, the first thing I want to tell you is that all men have their ego in their shoulders. And we suddenly realized that part of Stone Monkey is like dropping your shoulders. Like a lot of people ski with their upper body, and the upper body has nothing to do with it. And so if you drop the upper body straight down, you're a Stone Monkey.
Wipeouts. I love good wipeouts. If there's a good wipeout, I don't want to miss it. And I've instructed their guys on our squad that if they're going to wipe out, they make sure that I'm around to see it.
Ron Barr is the coach of the junior racers here, and he is the junior racing program. Before coaching, he was a downhill racer at Western State College for 4 years. He coaches a squad of 22 kids, girls and boys, and they all love him.
It's fun to go fast. It's fun to crash. If you'd ever crash going 60 miles an hour and be able to end up when you're done rolling standing on your feet, you'd know the feeling. It's really neat to know that not everything is broken.
take to be a great downhill racer.
Desire. Just nothing but desire. Anybody can be a good racer.
The difference between first and 10th place is measured in fractions of seconds.
My bib come untied about halfway down the course, so I lost a little bit of time.
Covering 2 miles in less than 2 minutes takes more than just physical conditioning.
To be a good downhill skier, you gotta meditate. Like last night, I meditated for about 3 hours just thinking on what I was doing and where I could pick up time, where I make my mistakes, and just thinking about what you're doing all the time.
At 65 miles per hour, you can't afford to let your mind stray, not even for a second.
A lot of concentration, because I know the other day I quit concentrating for a second and I had a good fall.
Hurts when you fall sometimes, but you gotta go all out to win. Sometimes going all out, you tip over.
It took me a long time to understand when the women were running and when the men were running, and I couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. And I think it's really a problem in racing. And my suggestion is, you see I got this patch on my back. It says Space Co. I'm going to change it to boy.
After college, Ron's interest in athletics only increased.
I knew I wanted to go into coaching when I was in high school. The years went by, I forgot about it. It was always in the back of the mind that I love athletics, and skiing was on top.
Getting ready for skiing competition starts in September, way before ski season. Training includes conditioning exercises, running, and team games.
Soccer is a game that played properly. It's a constant moving game, and so you're covering a lot of miles. You're doing a lot of quick bursts of speed. It's good for coordination with the foot. You know where your feet are, and that's going to relate to skiing. You got to know where your skis are. Now it all has to become automatic.
Often a racer will catch an edge or hit a bump and find himself on one ski. Good balance can mean the difference between instant recovery or a bad fall. So Ron's team learns to ski on one ski better than most others do on two. Ron's kind of coaching is demanding. He logs hundreds of miles behind the wheel on the way to races, 16 races a year, plus frequent regional organization meetings. It gets to be a grind to Ron because he's been there before, many times. But to the kids on his squad, it's all new.
That's what's good about ski racing, is the exposure, everything. You're opened up, not just left in one little area. You take a kid in high school or junior high school, what other kid's going to have that opportunity to go around and see those places? That might be his only chance his whole life.
Before each race, tensions build up, differently in each racer's mind. Ron makes it his business to know and understand each individual. and how to recognize and relax those tensions. His coaching never really stops. The most critical moments for the racers and Ron are those just before race time.
Every kid's different. Some kids you leave alone, some kids you rub down, some kids you talk to. Yeah, they do small things. Maybe by just scraping the tops of their skis and smiling to them and tell them to go fast. That's all they need. Others, you've got to get them alone and just work them into a fighting type attitude.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Racing is exciting and fun, but there are risks at every turn.
I think the worst thing for a kid is an injury, where then he does build up a desire he's never had before, and he can't do a thing with it. He has to just sit there with his leg in a cast. The guys that come back there, if they can come back and make it through that next season, those are your tough competitors.
I came out of the funnel and around the big roundhouse turn and couldn't make the turn. I got low. I started into it too late. And I was heading into the bottom panel when I decided to bail out. And I fell over to the side thinking I'd just come out with an easy fall, and it turned out to be about a triple somersault, egg beat, or whatever you want to call it. And then I ended up about 40 yards below the gate where I started to fall. I didn't have my skis, poles, or one of my gloves on. Everything was gone, and I was just sitting there. But this year, I progressed quite a bit, and I was going to do really good, I thought. And when that happened, I got really depressed, but it's only going to be on for 10 weeks, and then I should be in for some spring skiing, for some fun, because I'm really going to take them next year.
When Ron Barr goes out to free ski, look out. He loves to crash through the moguls, those bumpy monsters, believing himself to be totally indestructible. Like many good racers, he relies on a subtle combination of split-second balance and brute power. He never gives up. Even when a recovery seems impossible, he goes so fast, you might think the camera is speeded up. But no, it's just Ron cruising along at normal speed.
Compacting moguls is just fun. It jars you, and you can jar the hill. I ski that way just because that's the way I ski. I don't like to go around things. I like to go through them. I hit them as fast as I can, as hard as I can, and suck them up as much as I can. I still get bounced around.
Once in a while, a perfect powder morning dawns. A couple of feet of fresh, dry, light powder snow has fallen during the night, something that happens rarely during the season. Most skiers never experience it.
For me to have fun in deep powder, it has to be really steep. To be really steep, it has to be avalanche danger. So you ski deep powder long enough, you're gonna get it.
People are now being bummed out by the crowds and the lift lines, and they've lost that feeling of freedom that the sport has to offer. Powder's probably the next thing, because it seems to me this is the only way you can be unique anymore, is to just ski things that are steeper and hairier than what anybody else wants to ski.
I like falling in powder. It was nice. Like when I'm on hardpack, if I catch my uphill ski or something, I fight to get it back in. But in powder, there's nothing to worry about. And I like falling in snow, getting buried.
I like powder. I like powder to the extent that I like the deeper it is, the better. If it isn't deep enough, I love just to get on the backs, get as low as I can so the snow's still coming over me. And just rip. Just go, 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 and not stop.
that snow starts to roll up your chest and hit you in the face, and you can feel it, or when you feel your skis just floating right through it, it just starts happening, you know, your body just gets all excited, it just turns you right on.
On a perfect powder morning, skiing becomes a dance of joy and energy, a dance of friendship and freedom. The lifts are closed, the mountains quiet. Patrolmen scout each trail looking for stranded skiers. This is called sweeping. Then, one lone patrolman makes a super sweep. The final check to make sure the mountain is empty. Often, Steve and his dog Daisy get this job.
Super sweep is almost worth being a patrolman for, that one run. If you have one guy that stays on the top till everybody else is down in case there's an accident, and everybody's down, and then you're up there, and the whole mountain's yours, and you can have any trail you want. Skier is just sort of a little training ground, a stepping stone into where skiing's really at. Personally, I think the good skiers are going to go away from ski areas and ski on natural terrain. The way I ski on touring skis is atrocious, but to me that's just as much fun as spending, $200 for skis and another $200 for boots. You should just go out and do it, like the old guys did around here, just climb up the hill and put on skis and slide straight down.
This is the story of three serious skiers to whom skiing is a way of life. They each found this old mining town that almost went under, tucked away in the mountains, where the deep powder always is and the lift lines never are. Every skier dreams of such a place, a ghost town, a mountain, and endless days of perfect powder skiing. These guys found it. Our story begins with Stevie Allen, a Denver kid who fell in love with skiing as a boy. Years later, while he attended a nearby college, he discovered the ghost town. Now, married and a father, he works a small farm near the town during the summer. Winter finds him back above timberline as a professional ski patrolman.
Oh, it's changing. Used to know everybody in town. Now, I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. It was, typical to go skiing and not see anybody on your run. Or, to stand at the top of a monument and look out and maybe see two people on the whole mountain of everywhere you could look.
Skiing is both work and play to Stevie. Up at the crack of dawn, he's doing avalanche control work, which is risky business, skiing fresh powder with 25 pounds of dynamite on his back. Checking for fracture lines on foot is one way to start a slide that might accidentally bury a skier later in the day. Hand-placed dynamite charges are often needed to break and stabilize tensions within the snowpack. And big howitzers are used to set off avalanches that can't be reached any other way.
Yeah, they're really intriguing, even though, you respect them. It's usually just sort of a churning, sort of with sort of rolls and waves like this with powder in front of it. But if somebody else on some other, avalanche route gets a good one and you weren't there, you really feel left out.
To his natural gift for graceful movement in the air, Stevie added practice and desire, and in high school, he became a state champion gymnast.
When I was young, I bounced on the trampoline from about 3rd grade on through high school. High school, I competed on the trampoline. So it just gave me a balance in the air, and it's had carryover value in everything I've done. Jumping isn't skiing. It's just, it's a separate thing. It's being up in the air and having that balance. And, the skis are just sort of a part of it. When you land, you got to use them. A really good jump, you're just floating. And when you land, about as hard as when you're just walking downstairs. Really soft.
Jumping competitions, called Galendi contests, have become popular all over the country. Stevie's winnings on the Galendi circuit have supplemented his modest ski patrol salary.
You come up the jump and all you can see is blue sky. And when you're going at it, you think, geez, I'm going awful fast.
Here we see Stevie at his best, the 1972 Vail Galendi, out-jumping his own world distance record, a flight of 183 feet.
You go to a Galendi contest and there's 50 people there and there's probably 15 of them that could win it. It's not like one guy's best, it's just who gets off the best jump that day.
Some guys aren't ready for the big jumps. Maybe they just don't know what they're getting into. Or maybe they're just out of their minds.
I used to just jump, but now I think about it. Whereas some guys just hang on and hope they're going to make it. That's not good. Yeah, jumping seems really separate from skiing unless you can incorporate it in your skiing. I try to stay on the ground when I ski, unless, you purposely get in the air just for fun, but to be bouncing off moguls isn't good because there's no way to turn your skis when you're in the air. I try to ski not specifically any one way, I try to ski as plain as possible, so that when I ski down the hill, it's not a style that I hold my hands just so, or that my feet are always together, my feet are always apart. I just try to stand on top of my skis and make my skis turn.
Jack Barrows grew up playing football in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He was a senior in college before he ever put on a pair of skis.
I started throwing a football when some of the Europeans started racing skiing. If I would have started skiing at the same age, I probably would have been a pretty good racer.
Jack turned to teaching and coaching high school football in the ghetto. But a weekend ski trip to Vail changed everything. He followed the rumors he'd heard, and he found the ghost town. Throwing hazard to the wind, he moved there. Many of Jack's attitudes about skiing relate back to his football experiences. The way he breaks through fresh powder in the trees demonstrates this quite well.
Powder's a hard thing to define what it does to you. It just, it rushes me to the point where I want to yell. But I think powder really becomes great when you're in the trees, when you're going off of cliffs, when you're going off of varied terrain. I'd walk anywhere to ski the powder because that's what powder skiing's all about. It's skiing the stuff where everybody isn't. Steep trees, they slide more than big bowls. So if you're in a steep chute and all of a sudden you make a turn and it breaks with you, you got to ski the break down. You got to ski the slough or the slide. And that's exciting, as long as it's not a major slide that wipe you out. think every day you ski powder, you ski it a little differently. There isn't just one technique. It depends if it's wind-blown powder, if it's really light powder, if you're on a steep slope, if you're on a gentle slope, how deep it is, if it's in moguls, if it's not, if the sun's been on it a long time. I mean, there's very few times I think that you can say, okay, this is my only way I'm going to ski this, because it changes. It changes a lot.
To ski every day all winter, Jack has to pound nails in town all summer.
When I went to college, I worked my way through school by working construction. And from here, I started building with other people, and then I started building on my own. So during the summer, I build, make a certain amount of money, enough that I try and save it as much as I can so that when I go into the winter, I've got a decent amount of money in the bank.
Jack's first love is powder. The steeper and the deeper, the better. But he's at home in the bumps, too. Michigan's bruising boilerplate hills were a cruel teacher, and they taught Jack the secrets of hard-pack skiing.
I don't get bored with challenging the same thing over and over again until I get it right. When I ski aggressively, I challenge my body. It's between me and the mountain, or me and the mogul, or the next thing in front of me. It's a challenge for me to make that next turn.
Softball's really fun. Competition's fun. And I'm going to put together a softball team that is going to thoroughly trounce every team within this town, and not in close games. And I'm going to laugh at every team we beat because the town's at the point that it's ready for that.
Ron Barr was born and raised in Aspen, and there's no way to grow up in Aspen without skiing. 10 years ago, while on a backpacking trip, he stumbled into the ghost town. It wasn't long before he was a student in the college town nearby. Ron is a fierce competitor in everything. He started racing when he was 4, and he hasn't slowed down since.
Come on, Dick! Good wipeouts. I love good wipeouts. If there's a good wipeout, I don't want to miss it. And I've instructed their guys on our squad that if they're going to wipe out, they make sure that I'm around to see it.
Ron coaches the junior racers here. He's got a squad of 22 kids, girls and boys, and they all love him.
It's fun to go fast. It's fun to crash. If you've ever crashed going 60 miles an hour and be able to end up when you're done rolling standing on your feet, you know the feeling. It's really neat to know that not everything is broken.
What's it take to make a great downhill racer?
Desire. Just nothing but desire. Anybody can be a good racer.
Covering 2 miles in less than 2 minutes takes more than just physical conditioning.
To be a good downhill skier, you gotta meditate. Like last night, I meditated for about 3 hours just thinking on what I was doing and where I could pick up time, where I make my mistakes, and just thinking about what you're doing all the time.
At 65 miles an hour, you can't afford to let your mind stray, not even for a second.
A lot of concentration, because I know the other day I quit concentrating for a second and I had a good fall.
Hurts when you fall sometimes, but you gotta go all out to win. Sometimes going all out, you tip over.
It took me a long time to understand when the women were running and when the men were running, and I couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. And I think it's really a problem in racing. And my suggestion is, you see, I got this patch on my back. It says Spaceco. I'm going to change it to boy.
I knew I wanted to go into coaching when I was in high school. It was always in the back of the mind that I love athletics, and skiing was on top.
Getting ready for skiing competition starts in September, way before ski season. Training includes conditioning exercises, running, and team games.
Soccer is a game that is played properly. It's a constant moving game, and so you're covering a lot of miles. You're doing a lot of quick bursts of speed. It's good for coordination with the foot. You know where your feet are, and that's going to relate to skiing. You got to know where your skis are. It all has to become automatic.
Often a racer will catch an edge or hit a bump and find himself on one ski. Good balance can make the difference between an instant recovery or a bad fall. To build good balance, Ron uses a rather unusual exercise. It's called skiing on one ski. It's hard, but it's fun. When the day's training is over, Ron finds a few moments to get a little exercise for himself. He loves to crash through the bumps, believing himself to be totally indestructible. Like many good racers, he relies on a subtle combination of split-second balance and brute power. He never gives in to gravity, even when a recovery seems impossible. He skis so fast, you might think the camera is speeded up. But no, it's just Ron boogieing along at normal speed.
Compacting moguls is just fun. It jars you, and you can jar the hill. I don't like to go around things. I like to go through them. I hit them as fast as I can, as hard as I can, and suck them up as much as I can. I still get bounced around. When I think of hot doggers and ballet skiers, I think that they go maybe over these bumps, but they're going very slowly. Just show skiers. And there again, I get into my technique, which isn't show. It's go for it. And I stay as square on my skis as possible and go for it.
4 months of summer, June through September. It seems like forever when skiing is your whole life. You dream all summer of a perfect powder morning. 3 fantastic feet of feather-light powder snow. The ultimate high. Stevie, Jack, and Ron climb a 12,000-foot peak near town with a couple of friends, and they find it.
Fun in deep powder, it has to be really steep. To be really steep, it has to be avalanche danger. So you ski deep powder long enough, you're gonna get it.
When that snow starts to roll up your chest and hit you in the face, and you can feel it, or when you feel your skis just floating right through it, it just starts happening, you know, your body just gets all excited. It just turns you right on.
Powder. I like powder to the extent if I like the deeper it is, the better. If it isn't deep enough, I love just to get on the backs, get as low as I can so the snow's still coming over me. And just rip. Just go, go, go and not stop. And if I had a mountain that went for how long, I don't know, I'd ski until I dropped.
This is why, to Steve, Jack, and Ron, skiing is something that's part of you, a way of life. And you can't handle it unless you do it every day. It's that simple and that beautiful.